Hello, this is a little demonstration of how to do problem 4. We didn't get to this in class, and I'm showing you specifically the sort method of doing this problem. It's one of the two alternatives you have if you don't have pivot table on your system. So here is the problem. So what we're going to do is just follow these instructions using data that are showing the number of miles to a grocery store for people surveyed in our class. You already know how to do most of this. We're going to start with A, finding the minimum, maximum, and range. And so we'll use our basic formulas here. Arrow's not working the way I want it to there. There we go. So we'll use our formula equals min. And once we have the opening parenthesis, we'll just select the data that we need. I'm going to click and drag for this first example. We drag it down to the bottom and we hit enter. And now we find out the lowest is 0.5. For our maximum, I'm just going to write equals max. And we're going to, again, I'll click in the top one. This time I'll use our special function Control-Shift-Down arrow to select all of those and hit enter. So it looks like our largest score is 50. Our smallest score is 0.5. And so let's go ahead and calculate the range, even though we can do this easily in our heads. I just want to see that you know what this is. So I'm going to click in the cell with a 50 and subtract the cell with a minimum to get a range of 49.5. Our next question asks to determine whether we need a grouped or simple frequency table and what bins we would use. And so I'm going to say that we need a grouped frequency table because the range is too large for a simple frequency table. We know we'd have to have 50 or probably 90 some rows. Because we have half miles listed here. And so we couldn't have all those rows, so we need to have a group frequency level. And I think in this example, I'm going to use bin sizes of 5. And I think I'm going to go with beginning with less than equal to 5 and ending with 50. So for C, we need to make our frequency table including percents, and I'll show you how to do this using a sort function. So this is a frequency table of miles to grocery store. That'll be the title of the frequency table, so I won't add another title. And we begin with the values, which are miles in this case. Then we'll have a column with the frequencies, which are counts. And then we'll have the percents. So in the values, I need to put these bins. So I'm going to write words here. And I want to do these words because Excel has a funny way. If you just put numbers here, it tends to misinterpret it as quantitative data, even if you change the format. So we'll just leave it and keep words in these. So now we'll make, we went less than and equal to 5. So now we'll go 6 to 10, and I'm going to write miles. If we don't, it's going to transform this into a date. It's going to be awkward. 11 to 15 miles. 16 to 20. Now I think we're okay. I'm going to keep writing miles here. What I'm going to do is just copy this word so I don't have to type it each time. 21 to 25 miles. 26 to 30 miles. 31 to 35 miles. Remember, when you do these, you want to have your categories equal and nice round numbers, no overlap. Next, we'll have 41 to 45 miles and 46 to 50 miles. Now we have to get our frequencies, and you probably don't have this pivot function, so I'm going to show you an alternate way to do these counts. So select your header rows, and then use Control-Shift down arrow to select all of your data. Go into the Data tab on the top menu. I'm going to click on that. My menu appears, and go to this Sort function. And what you want to do is sort based on miles to grocery, or however you have that column labeled. If you've only selected your data, you want to make sure My Data Has Headers is clicked. If you've only selected your data, then you might be seeing column B and column C listed, then you select column C. But I think it's going to come up like this for you. Just click OK. Now you can see they're sorted in order from the smallest to the largest. So now I'm going to get rid of the bold there by selecting all of this and going Control B and doing that again. I'll get rid of that bold. Okay, so now we have to count how many are less than or equal to 5. I'm going to recommend we use the patterns we learned in our last class. So 1, 2, and so now let's just select these two and drag it down to all the numbers that are lower than 5. So here we go. Right there is the last one. That's 5. Right here is the 5, and it says there are 26 individuals in that category. It looks like it's coming up as a %. If this happens for you, go ahead and change the formatting in these cells. And we're going to change these into numbers. Using the right click, selecting formula, we'll have 0 decimal places. Those are back to normal now. Let's see how many are in 6 to 10, and I don't see any that are in 6 to 10, so I'll put a 0. 11 to 15, let's count them. So we'll go 1, 2. This way you won't make mistakes as you eyeball things. And it looks like we have 6 in that category. 16 to 20, I see just the one that was 18. 21 to 25, I'll just put the 1 there. I see just these 2. 26 to 30, I see 4 individuals with 30. 36 to 40, I see 2 individuals. Did I see anyone in the 31 to 35? That's a 0. 41 to 45, a 0, and 1 person in the 46 to 50. If you were, anyhow, this looks good to me. We can calculate the percents. We're going to have a really boring graph because of a floor effect. We calculate percents by getting the totals. So let's write total. And let's get the sum equals sum, opening parenthesis. And then we just select the range that we want the sum for. It's still in that % format, so let's go ahead, right-click, go to Format Cells, and let's change it back to a number with 0 decimal places. Okay, how we have our total, I'll make that bold. Let's calculate our percents now. Equals, and let's just click in the first cell. And we know that % is frequency divided by total. So let's go frequency divided by total. We get the decimal. If we wanted to get it to look like a %, I'm actually recommending that we're going to change now the format of the cells. So let's do 2 things in this cell. First, we're going to change the format, and then we're going to make static our divisor. To change the format now, let's right-click on it and go to Format Cells. And let's click on %, and let's get rid of those decimal places. Let's do one more thing so we can copy and paste our formula. Let's go ahead and tell it we always want it to divide by this number, this 42, which is in row 31. So we're going to tell it stay in row 31. The command we give is we put a $sign that kind of looks like an S for static. Keep cell 31, keep row 31 static. So we're going to now tell it always go back to that number. When we do those two things, we'll be able to copy the formula and just paste it down our row, and it will retain those percents throughout. And it will also stay in the right cells. Let's make sure that it always divided by 42. I'm going to click in any one cell and go up to this formula bar where it highlights the cells it worked with, and it did choose the correct cells. Now I'm just going to get the sum of these, make sure they add up to 100%, and it even copied the format. That's good. So now our frequency table is all set. We have a title here. We have the frequency table. We're good. There's things we could do to be fancy, but we don't need to. Our next step in D, we're creating a histogram and giving it a clear descriptive title. Histogram of miles to grocery store. And let's go ahead and bold that title. And now we're just going to select here. Don't select your total and don't select your titles of your columns. Just select the list of values and the frequencies. And we're going to go to our insert menu. Our insert menu while these are selected, and we're going to go to this bar chart, and let's select this first one again. Now we have a good frequency table, a good histogram. I'm going to drag it down where it belongs. And we have one problem, though, is that we don't have a histogram. We have a bar chart. These bars are separate. So while it's selected, this can be a little tricky, but pay attention closely. Click on one of the bars. And if you just click one time on the bars, they should all be selected. If this doesn't work for you, go off it, click in another cell, click on it again, and then just hover over one of the bars and click one time, and you should see them all selected. And while they're selected, right-click. This menu should appear, and scroll down to Format Data Series. And you'll see this menu appear on the side. Yours might appear with this look. You don't want that one. Yours might appear, notice my cursor, with this. You don't want that. What you want is this one that looks like a histogram. Click on that, and you'll see that the gap is there. They have a big gap. What we want to do is drag this over so it says 0 or type 0 in here, and that's all you have to do. You can exit out of there. It's already made the change for you. And so we can see here that for our miles to grocery store, if you want, you can change the title in the graph, or you can just delete that. I'm going to copy the title and double click it and get it into my graph. So you can just paste that in. Now we have that step done for D. So we can check off all of that. Let's go to E, and now it says describe the shape. And so let's go ahead and describe the shape. I think it's a good idea to draw this curved line so you remember what you're doing. And I think we definitely have some skew going on here. So let's go shape. So I would say this is a non-normal, non-symmetrical distribution. I'm going to say that it appears to have strong positive skew. And I'm going to say this, we talked about it in class, and a floor effect, such that the values on the low are clustered around the low end. I don't see any obvious kurtosis. Okay. And so that, I think, is the end of the problem. The other method that I had showed you using the pivot table would be to, I'm going to resort these data out. And I'll just show you what we would do using the pivot table, which does make this an easier process. And I think I'll show you that in a separate video so that we don't get the videos looking too long. So that's the end of this video for you, and I'm going to end this recording.